I'm Michael Kennedy.
I'm Emily Kennedy. We found out really early that we were going to have another baby. We had our daughter Charlotte. She was about 1.5 years at the time, and I knew I was pregnant. Went to my appointment, and oh my gosh, it's twins, which was exciting and oh my word, just terrifying at the same time. And also it was immediately followed by, but there's something wrong with baby B and don't count on it. That kind of started the saga of our pregnancy that we were pretty private about. We were not really sharing too much about what was going on with our pregnancy, but then as time went on, there was a whole month, actually right at Christmas, where we were told that they hadn't found a heartbeat on Evan, and that he had passed away, and that was what we were told. And we went the whole Christmas season believing that one of our twins had passed away. It was a very fearful pregnancy with so many unknowns that it was just
next week we went in for another ultrasound.
Yeah, and there were 2 little babies just like dancing around on the ultrasound, and my doctor goes sheet white. She's just mortified because she told me my baby had died, and my baby was not dead. And so there we all kind of were looking at each other, and you just say, oh my word, maybe we're having twins again. And maybe was probably the operative word there even still, because even though oh my gosh there's 2 was followed directly by, we need to send you to somebody in Omaha. We don't know.
That's when we started going to the specialists.
And the specialists, there is a team of perinatologists out of Omaha who kind of supervised that pregnancy from then on out, and every trip to Omaha was such a question. We didn't know what to hope for. We didn't know whether twins was even a good thing or not. We didn't know how sick or vulnerable this other baby was, and neither did our doctors. All they could tell us was, we keep finding a heartbeat and we don't know at all what's going to happen to this kid.
It was really interesting for the doctors too, because they'd never actually seen anything like it before. And these are the best in the country. They got excited because as a doctor, you don't see new things very often when you're in that, it's kind of routine. So their bedside manner kind of slipped a little bit, and they'd throw things out there that were terrifying for adults. Like,
for parents.
It could be this and that, and we're like, what does that mean? He's like, well, it can mean X, Y, and Z, and we're like, what does that mean? And our hearts would start to go, and then we'd have 3 hours back to talk about it and speculate, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that was unknown.
And over that time, saying, okay, here's a bunch of stuff we've been given, and here's where we are, and we know that God loves us, and He loves our 2 little babies, and at the end of it, we don't know. We can only speculate over here, and that was where my faith really started to grow, was out of this just fearful, difficult time of this very speculative pregnancy, arriving at, okay, the only person who knows, clearly they don't know. The only person that knows is God. So then in kind of the end of April, after being on bed rest, finally kind of went into labor that wasn't going to stop at 30 weeks.
I hurried up to Omaha with my mom. Me and my mom went up there. And the whole time I was just so grouchy and unpleasant because I was terrified. I mean, from what we were told and all the speculation and all these ultrasounds, I didn't know what I was going to see. I knew that they were like 2 pounds, but I didn't know what Evan was going to look like.
We didn't know if Evan
At some point we were told that he was going to have clubbed feet, that his feet were going to look like little J's, and that his brain was going to be outside of his head, that he was going to have a concave chest, or that I didn't even know if I was going to be able to see him before he died, because all the doctors said that if he survives a pregnancy, he'll only survive an hour or 2 after he's born. And I remember getting there, and we found our way to the room, and my mom and Emily embraced, and they were crying. And I went in there, and there were the 2 incubators lit up, and I was like, that's them. And I sort of like cautiously approached, and I looked in, and I saw Tristan at first, and he looked like, preemies look kind of, they're small, and they don't look like a chubby, healthy, screaming baby anyway. And then I saw him, and then I knew the other one was Evan, and then I went over and I looked, and he looked exactly the same as the one I just looked at. And I was like, I kind of asked Emily, I was like, so what's up with Evan? And she said he's healthy. And I asked the doctor, I was like, what's up with Evan? They said he's healthy. And I asked the nurses, I was like, what's up with Evan? And they said he's healthy. And I asked pretty much all of them, I was like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean he's healthy? He can't be healthy. Our main doctor was an absolute expert in the field. He had just awards, he was one of the best in the whole country. And all of his partners that made up the hospital were the most knowledgeable in the whole country. And they had never seen anything like this. And they gave us 100% chance, 100% odds. They gave us percentages, and they said, I think it was like 98% that he would pass in like the first few hours after he was born. And then after everything happened that we just told, he came up and he's like, well, I mean, I believe in miracles, and we definitely just witnessed a miracle. There's no other explanation, believe me, because I know. Yeah. He said this was not normal, that this isn't normal, and he shouldn't be here, but he is. And where we are now, and I'm glossing over a year's worth of stuff, but he's a healthy, happy little boy, who is, he's celebrating Christmas just like the other ones, and he's going to rush over and open the presents. He's perfectly normal.
Yep.
And so ultimately there was a lot of prayer that was answered. And we're a normal, healthy family, and God came through for us and answered literally every single prayer. He didn't there wasn't one thing that he left out.
It was definitely by way of his plans. I mean, it wasn't from point A to point B, and it often is not. There was a whole lot else that came, kind of brought us all the way back around to what, and I think that's how God works, is he says, I mean, we're going to give you this beautiful gift of a child that was not to be. We're going to have some open heart surgeries. You're going to spend the first few years feeding him through a tube because he refuses to eat from so many medical procedures coming at him. He stopped eating, I mean, it's not the way you tell God you want it, but at the end, God does bring you somewhere pretty amazing. And it's, I mean, what a gift.
And we really felt like we grew up, and we learned a lot about ourselves and a lot about our faith and a lot about what it means to cling to God. A lot of those days were minute by minute or hour by hour, and you're just praying constantly. And I just don't know how you could not be a Christian, because it feels to me like you'd have your feet firmly planted in midair. Like there's no foundation. It feels like I needed something to hold on to, because it felt like you were in a strong wind or a strong tide or something like that, and that any second, like if you let your guard down, you might be swept away into a really bad place of despair. And I just felt like, and I think that's what I learned most, is that in times of hardship, you can focus on God and you can hold on to Him.
Well, and like when Pastor Adrian at the end of the service says, if anybody needs prayer, come on up. We were like, we're the people that need, like every Sunday, like, please come pray for my babies. And I mean, there were so many times that we were in like full-fledged prayer huddles. Just at the front of the church. And you have to have that. You have to have it. It carried us through so much.
Yeah,
I mean, prayer.
Well, and I'm a very introverted person, and I suffer from even social anxiety and really shy and stuff like that. And I'd never be one to even go up to the front of the church or ask for prayer, because it would just be too uncomfortable. But when you're in a situation like this, I didn't have to go up to the front of the church, but they knew what our situation was, and people would just show up and put their arms around me and start praying, and it felt so good. And because you're going through a torment, you're being tormented, and you just in agony inside. But so when you have somebody praying over you, even though I was too shy to ask for it, you just have a kind of a warmth that washes over you, and it really was so important.
What I would say to someone who's in a really tough, dark place, I mean, first of all, it's okay to be really, really upset and really sad. I would come to church and just sob through all the music and kind of stop being self-conscious about it at some point, because it was just so hard for so long. So I mean, first of all, I think people try to suck it up too much. I think it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to acknowledge that what you're going through is ridiculously difficult, and those feelings are valid. I think the hope that I would want to share with someone else is that I started out, I kind of gave you my whole story, and I started out thinking I might know kind of what the outcomes might be. They might be A, B, or C. And today we're sitting in D, and we didn't know about D. We didn't know what D looked like.
That's true.
We didn't believe in D. We didn't even know that D could be possible, or that this thing over here that exists now that is my beautiful, wonderful reality, that's my family and my life, and it's not perfect, and it is 100% not even a thing that I considered was possible. God did it with ease. And I think that I would say to anybody who is having a hard time that none of us can say what will happen, and it's true that what's happening right now is not what you wanted and not what you ever hoped for yourself, but it will not be like that forever, and it will get better, and it will be something that you didn't know was possible, that God already knows is possible, and God has directed all of our steps, and He's directing you over here, but we don't know what that is. So as much as you can hang on to the Lord and to your community of people who love you, I mean, that is my best hope, I think, for anyone struggling under any circumstances.
That's the other thing too about going through struggles too, is that, man, it really amplifies the joy.
Yeah.
Like when it finally does come, like when we finally got that smile after waiting for 10 months, like, geez, it was just like mind blowing. It's still just like lights me up whenever he smiles, because we don't take anything for granted. I think we've learned to just all of it's a gift, like everything.